It's pro bike check time, and this is Jack Moir's Canyon Strive Enduro race bike. We are in the beautiful spot of Pietra in the pits, sandwiched in between the sea and the mountains for the Enduro World Series. This is just 5 kilometers down the road of its probably more well-known sister town, Ligura, well-known in the Enduro circles. And we're here to take a look at the Australian rider Jack Moir's race bike. As you can tell, it's pretty big. Jack is a tall bloke. If I stand up, that saddle is almost up to my shoulder height. So this is an XL bike. I don't know exactly how tall Jack is, but I'll ask him that in a second. It's a 29er, of course, the Strive. It's a 150mm bike. It's got a 170mm travel RockShox Zeb fork up front. It looks absolutely fresh, this bike. Well, I say fresh, there are a few little rock chips here and there, but it's immaculately clean. His mechanic's done a brilliant job getting it ready for us. So let's take a look at some of the components he's got on his bike. It's the first time I've been in a pro race pits for a little while, of course. First time I've actually seen these RockShox Zeb forks up close. Of course, we've got the Fox 38s as well, so same size 38 stanchions on these RockShox Enduro forks, and they do look pretty chunky. You go up to 40, of course, for the downhill forks, but yeah, big single crown fork. Looks massive these days. What about the rest of the front of the bike? Got this really nice Race Labs number plate that the EWS have just introduced this year. Just mounts this clamp on the bar, keeps your sort of cockpit nice and clean. Talking about that, he's got the SRAM Access wireless gears, so not so many cables up here. You've got the front brake run UK style. I think that's an Aussie thing as well, to be fair. And then rear brake, obviously, and you've got the cable here for the shapeshifter. So on this bike, that basically moves the position of the shock. So either 150 full travel, or if you go to that's on clack, if you send it to click, then that takes it down to 135mm, I believe, and it steepens up the angles as well. So it makes your head angle and steep angle steeper, so better for climbing, basically keeps your weight further forward on the bike. So nice system that, and super neat cabling on this bike. You've got these little Canyon clips here to keep those two together. Very nice. Tyres running Maxxis, got an Assegai up front, and then that's a DHR on the rear. DT Swiss EX511 wheels, big brakes on this bike, SRAM code RSC, so the downhill brake, matched to some massive rotors, don't come much bigger than that, 220 front and rear. So big stopping power. Like I've said, Jack's a big guy, so definitely helps. Also can help with taking away some arm pump if you don't have to pull the brakes quite so hard. On the long stages, you'll find it Enduros, and that might help some riders. You can see the front end of the bike, there's some big stack going on here. He's got this custom made spacer to go underneath the head tube, and then he's got a fair amount of carbon RockShox spacers below the stem. So really jacking the bars up nice and high to bring the weight back on the bike. Got Canyon cockpits, got alloy G5 bars. It says 800mm width. I'm not sure if they've been chopped, but I can ask Jack that in a sec. 50mm Canyon stem, and then one of those very neat Garmin mounts on top of there, so you can stick his computer on there. I'll ask him if he uses that for racing or if it's just to record his rides. Got some Ergon bits, got some oil slick parts on this bike. Saddle and grips, start off with the grips. GD1, are they the thin or the thick ones? I think they're the thicker diameter ones, but I'm not sure actually. Yeah, going on to saddle, got that SM Enduro Pro titanium, so titanium rails on this saddle, and also oil slick finish. RockShox Reverb, running the wireless access one as well. Looks like a big old drop, must be like 170 drop on that, but still you've got a lot of seat posts showing there above that collar. RockShox Super Deluxe Ultimate Rear Shock with that piggyback air, obviously. You can see his sag ring is actually measured to 30. I wonder how that's done that. I wonder if the mechanic had a go on it. Some Enduro parts, obviously you got a bottle cage, that's the Canyon one, and a Topeak, what's that called? A micro rocket carbon fiber mini pump. Obviously Enduro riders have to be pretty much self-sufficient out on the trail, so you'll see them carry bits and bobs with them. You can actually see a power link taped to the cable up top. Also, if you look inside his cranks, you'll see a little stash of zip ties just pushed in there, and that sort of space isn't used for anything. So if you need a zip tie in an emergency, that's where they'll be. More downhill influence on this bike. You got the Crankbrothers Mallet DH pedals with that big old cage on there. Just gives you a bit more support. Some riders like running the enduro pedals, some go for the bigger, obviously slightly heavier downhill pedals. 34 chainring up front, I guess we call that pretty standard these days. E13 chain guide to keep everything in place. Of course, you've got the wide and narrow chainring, and you've got a very nice oil slick chain there. Oh, that feels brand new, that does. Very nice. Same on the cassette, that lovely finish. And this is the SRAM Eagle, that new bigger one, 52 tooth, massive sprocket, down to a 10. Very fancy wireless SRAM access gears, lovely rear mech. Of course, you've got that battery that's super easy to take off. If for any need one was running low, you could always swap your post over to your rear mech. It wouldn't be a race bike without some custom touches. So look at this chain stay protection. It's actually quite soft. I'm not sure what that's made out of. It's got some lumps in it to quieten the bike down. A bit more underneath there. I don't know if these DT Swiss wheels come standard with red nipples next to the valve, but that's pretty cool. Jack, I presume this is an XL bike. You're a tall bloke?
No, it's actually a large. I was tossing up between large and extra large a fair bit during like team camp, and I was probably more comfortable on the large, but I decided to go the extra large. But I decided to go with the large because the enduro trails seem to be a bit tighter than most of the downhill tracks and stuff.
Right, okay.
So I wanted the smaller bike.
A shorter wheelbase?
Yeah, just a bit shorter, and I was really struggling getting the bigger bike around some of those real tight switchbacks.
How have you found the switch from being a full-time pro downhill racer to enduro? Is it like that, you know, trying to change a different bike to fit different stages? Has that been a bit of a test?
Yeah, well, I've only done one race so far, so I'm still learning, but I think, yeah, just I'm riding a lot smaller bike, and one of the main things is like trying to get used to going fast on a track I've ridden one time before. A few sketchy moments at Zermatt, and even like trying to practice fast yesterday.
I mean, it's a really difficult thing to do. Is that what you try and do, is practice as fast as you can?
Yeah, I wasn't going as fast as I can. I don't know, I still haven't found my formula yet, but I think I was trying to do it semi-fast while still having enough time to take in like the features and learn the track. I think if you went as fast as you could, you might forget or miss some of the lines and stuff you need for racing. So try to not going slow, but I'm not just going as hard as I will like for racing.
And it's a big day, it's 2,000 meters. I guess it's sort of lucky this round you've got a rest day in the middle, but you don't want to expend too much energy in practice, but you need to know the trail's good enough to go fast, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't sprinting and everything out of every corner like in racing, but still trying to give it like a little bit on the flat sections, because if you just cruise too hard, then in racing you start blowing out turns that you didn't know you had that much speed. And yeah, I don't know, it's a fine line between riding as hard as you can and saving energy for the race.
Do you know what width your bars are?
Yeah, I run the bars 760 on my trail bike.
Okay, is that just to fit the trails as well?
Yeah, a bit smaller, and I don't know, just the smaller bike. I don't like the bars as wide. I run them 780 on my downhill and 760 on that. I
guess I'm the same actually. It's a nice way to differentiate, and I know what bike I'm on when I feel the bars. But obviously we see the downhill pedals. Is there anything else that's come from, you know, downhill influence on this bike?
No, not really. I mean, I run the bars a bit higher because it feels comfier like my downhill bike, and yeah, not really. I mean, there's a few guys running coil shocks like downhill, but I have no issues with the air. I actually like the feel of it on this bike. And I don't know, the Zebs definitely make it feel a bit more like a downhill bike in the real like choppy, rough stuff. It's just feels like you can hold your line a lot better than the Lyrics.
So what about
and the big rotors?
Yeah, I know, it's huge. What about sort of tyres, pressures and inserts? Do you run inserts? Do you run higher pressures so that you take away some of the risk of puncturing?
No, I'm running the same pressure as downhill, but I guess it's like running a little more, because in downhill, obviously you've ridden the track all weekend, so you're going super fast on it. Whereas in Enduro, you've done the one practice lap and you you're going a bit slower. So technically I could run less pressure, but I keep it like that in case there is some wild sections or fast sections where you do go that fast, just so I don't bang up my wheels. But no inserts, just, yeah.
Nice. Well, thanks, Jack. Good luck this weekend and next weekend in finale.
Cheers, mate.